foreclosure defense, bankruptcy, student loan debt, and more. Put the power back in your hands. This is Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark.
Welcome to Behind the Law, season number 9. First time with you on this station, though. Let me introduce you first of all to our guest here, co-host Michaela Nichols. Hello, Michaela. How are you?
Hey, good.
Now, I'm a lawyer, as you know. You are not a lawyer.
I am not.
You're making too much money as a model, I guess, to be a lawyer, huh? Is that what it was?
I guess so.
But you are going to answer the questions for people at home. We want you to be a regular person and ask questions because the people I'm going to interview are lawyers, as you know. So I want you to ask any questions that you want. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
The great part about Behind the Law is we take you truly behind the law. What really goes on in that courtroom? What really goes on at that law firm? We're going to answer your questions during the program, and we're going to do so without charging you, most importantly. Now, here's the deal. The phone number is on the screen. If you have any legal questions whatsoever from me or any of our guests, the phone number is 321-282-1055. You will not want to miss a single second today. Great show lined up. We're going to talk about personal injury. We're going to talk about family law, and we're going to talk about the big bad IRS. Now, you're scared of the IRS, I believe, right?
I mean, who isn't?
Well, and a lot of people are dealing with child credit issues. You're dealing with where is my tax return? We're going to answer all of those questions as well. Are you ready to debut season 9 of Behind the Law?
I'm excited.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a very quick break. And by quick break, I mean 30 seconds. 30 seconds from now, we will interview Moses DeWitt of the DeWitt Law Firm. Don't miss it as Behind the Law continues. Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life. Does student loan debt have you spinning out of control? You are not helpless. At Attorneys Justin Clark and Associates, our goal is to lower or even eliminate your monthly payments. Call me today or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. I told you it would only be 30 seconds. Here we are back again. I promise you we're never going to lie to you. We're always going to give you the truth when it comes to law. And the truth is, I'm so excited to have our first guest here on this new TV station, Moses DeWitt, DeWitt Law Firm. Welcome to the show, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, I've known you for a long time now. Knew your mother. We did a radio show at the same station. In fact, one time your mom dropped her Amex because she was doing the show before me, and I held on to it tightly to make sure I gave it back. But I've seen your growth. I've seen you become one of the top lawyers in all of Central Florida. So just from the bottom of my heart, I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you again for having me on the show today.
Our pleasure. Now, I know you guys focus mostly on personal injury and family law. Let's start with personal injury a little bit because everyone sees these billboards and the billboards say, I got $1 million. And people are like, wow, jackpot, this is amazing. What is it like for someone who actually gets $1 million in this accident? I mean, these are real injuries, are they not?
They are, and that's what, getting injured is not winning the lottery in any sense of the term. Any client that we've had who's gotten a substantial sum of money from an accident would almost 100% of them, in my opinion, would give it back not to be injured, not to have to go through that, because they are real injuries. They are life-changing and life-altering injuries where those people are never going to be the same.
That's true.
They're never going to live their life the same way. They're going to have constant pain going throughout their life. So they are serious cases, and you do see the billboards with big numbers, and there's a reason that those people get big numbers because they're really injured. They are substantially injured. And we deal with those very serious cases where we've had clients who have recovered millions of dollars before. But also there's the less ones where there's not as much of a policy limit or there's not as severe of injuries.
That's right. And by all means, if you have questions for Mo during the interview, the phone number's on the screen. Feel free to call us now. We will answer the questions right away. 321-282-1055. Now, okay, I got $1 million. That person didn't actually get $1 million. What is sort of the average? Is it 50%, 60%, 40% of the number that's on that billboard that they actually walk away with?
So it all depends, but you have to factor in that their medical bills and medical liens are usually taken out of that settlement because they have to pay the doctors who treated them. And then of course there's attorney's fees as well. So one of the biggest values that a personal injury attorney can provide is helping to negotiate those medical liens, medical bills down so that the person at the end of the day gets the most amount of money in their pocket, because that's really what it's all about is you want that person who suffered the injury, who's going to suffer for the rest of their life, to have the money that they need to get the future medical treatment and be able to live a decent life.
Now, you've seen it before, of course. Someone gets rear-ended, they do have some injuries. The insurance company for the car that rear-ended me calls up and says, look, you don't need to go talk to a lawyer. I got you $5,000 right here. Why is it better to call the DeWitt firm as opposed to just taking that money from the insurance company?
Well, say, instead of taking the money from the insurance company, call any personal injury attorney. Because in my opinion, if they are offering you money up front like that, they're offering you pennies on the dollar.
Right.
And there's a study by the insurance company. The insurance company actually hired a company to do this study that says if you hire an attorney, on average, you get over 3 times more than someone who tries to do it on their own.
Really?
So, I mean, that tells you something right there. So if they're offering you money up front, call an attorney, get some advice, get a second opinion before you ever sign any documents.
Now, unfortunately, I think this market is heavily saturated with personal, not necessarily unfortunately, but we certainly live in a market that's saturated with personal injury attorneys, some very large, some one-man shops. I mean, what should I be looking for? Like, why would I go to you as opposed to anyone else out there?
So I was actually talking to someone last night, he asked me the same question.
Yeah.
He goes, what's the difference between you and these other guys out there? My general advice to any person is call up the law firm, talk to the attorney. If you're comfortable with them and you feel good about them, hire them. Call multiple law firms, ask about their experience. Do they take cases to trial? Are they going to fight for you in the case? But ultimately, hire whoever you're comfortable with. There's certainly not a shortage of personal injury attorneys in this town, as you know, so you have options.
Right.
You can call around. Most personal injury attorneys will give you a free consultation. They'll talk to you at absolutely no charge, so it doesn't cost you anything. So you might as well go and get some advice and see who you're comfortable with.
One of the most please.
No, I mean, how soon after an accident do I have to call you?
So it's best to call as soon as possible. Now in Florida, we do have 14 days to activate what we call the PIP benefits or the no-fault benefits. So you need to see a doctor within 14 days after an accident to get those benefits. Otherwise, you could lose up to $10,000 in medical coverage if you don't.
Yikes.
Yeah,
She was so nervous about asking her first question on this show, being a non-lawyer. But you don't understand.
That was a great question.
That was a fantastic
It was
question.
going through my head the whole time.
The 14-day issue is a very big issue in your line of work.
Huge issue.
And what does that mean? Let's say that I don't get any treatment till day 16. What does that do to my case?
So you still have a case, you just don't get those up to $10,000 in benefits, as well as it opens the door for the insurance company to argue or potentially argue that your injuries came from something else. Hey, did you play basketball in those 16 days? Oh, maybe, if you're injured, you're probably not playing basketball, but you get what I'm saying.
Of course.
Maybe there was something else that happened that caused the injury. It wasn't from the car accident. It allows them to make those kinds of arguments.
What if the ambulance arrives on scene? I have an accident. It wasn't my fault. The ambulance shows up, and I'm like, I'm hurting, but it doesn't hurt that bad. I mean, should I get in an ambulance or not? Or what do you think?
That's up to you.
Yeah.
I always recommend get checked out as soon as possible, because what I've seen a lot of times actually happen to a good friend of mine is they don't get checked out and they have serious injuries that occur down the road.
Right.
Torn tendons, torn ligaments, disc herniations, things like that. So whether you get in the ambulance or not, I always recommend getting checked out, whether it's at the ER, a urgent care facility, or your own primary care physician. Get checked out by somebody so you know there's not something going on there.
A lot of tough guys out there. Someone rear ends you, you're like, I'm not a sue happy guy. I'm fine. I'll be fine.
Yep.
Day later, not too bad. 2 days later, hurts a little bit more. How often do you see the onset of pain happen a few days after the actual accident?
Well, almost all cases.
Yeah.
Usually it's about 48 to 72 hours after the accident where that pain really starts. The adrenaline goes away and you really start to feel that pain.
Right.
And you hit the nail on the head, the tough guy syndrome, right? None of us want to admit that we're hurt. Oh, I'll be fine, not a big deal, and it just gets worse and worse. And if you don't get checked out, that's where we see the issues arise.
Yeah, but Mo, it was a nice old lady that hit me. I don't want to take all of her money. Is that lady really going to pay for my injuries typically?
Well, in most cases, you're going after the insurance company, right? So everybody has insurance. Insurance is for these kinds of accidents. That's why we have it.
Yeah.
And so you're asking that her insurance company come to the table and put money on the table to pay your medical bills and your pain and suffering and lost wages and all that kind of stuff.
Weird part about Florida is you don't necessarily have to have what's called bodily injury coverage, meaning you're out there driving down the street, your kids are in the car, someone could hit you and literally have no coverage. Is there a way here for me to protect against that happening to me and my family?
There is, and actually I think we're the only state in the nation that doesn't have a bodily injury requirement, which is crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
It is nuts.
The one thing I tell everybody is look at your insurance policy, make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage. It's called UM coverage. And the purpose of that coverage is exactly what you said. if someone hits you and hurts you and they don't have any coverage to cover you, that's when that coverage kind of kicks in and steps into the shoes of the at-fault driver. So that you have money to pay for those lost wages, pay for those medical bills. So it's extraordinarily important coverage to have, and I would definitely recommend everybody out there check their policy and make sure they have it.
Some people might come in and they're mad. I can't believe this person hit me. They were a horrible driver. I'm going to go get them. Moses, I want you to sue them right now.
I'd say the same thing.
I know you would. She's right, actually. She would say that. Is that always the best tactic when you first start a personal injury case?
No, you want to do an investigation. First of all, you don't want to sue right away because you want to know what the extent of your injuries are typically. So you need to go get treatment, and typically they're going to wait until you reach maximum medical improvement to make that claim or make that demand on the insurance company so you know the full extent of your injuries, because you certainly don't want to settle for less than your injuries are worth. You settle too early, you file that lawsuit too early, and they try to settle the claim, you may have injuries that you don't even know exist yet. So that's why you want to go through the proper process, do the proper investigation, and make sure that you have the proper medical treatment.
So you have a client who's like, oh, I need the money, I need the money, I need the money. How do you have that conversation saying, look, this is not going to benefit you if we sue now. We need to wait on your treatment to be done. How do you have that talk with a client?
Well, you just have to basically tell them, look, if you settle now, you're taking pennies on the dollar. Your claim is worth more than what's being offered at this point in time, in my opinion, of course. At the end of the day, it's always the client's decision as to what they want to do. But you have to give them those options and tell them, based on our experience, what our opinion is.
Yeah. If you've been injured at all, please call the number on the screen. I'll connect you with Mo right now, 321-282-1055. You also do family law over there. And I believe Michaela before the show said, what is family law? or did I predict that would be your question?
I think I said something similar to that.
That's a good question. What is family law?
So family law is a general term for divorces, paternity actions, child support, alimony, all that kind of fun stuff.
And do you ever recommend people doing that on their own?
We've seen a lot of horror stories where people do that. I always recommend, look, if you're going through any of that situation, or divorce, paternity action, at least sit down with an attorney and know your options. Get some legal advice, even if you have to pay a little bit of money for it. I've seen people try to do it on their own and just turned it into a nightmare. What should have been a very simple thing that an attorney could have done fairly easily for them.
You think a personal injury case is emotionally charged. How emotionally charged is a family law case?
Oh, I think, as you know, family law cases, they have to be the most emotionally charged area of the law. It's very personal. I always describe it as it's an area of the law that really doesn't belong in court, but we have nowhere else to put it because it is so emotional, it's so personal. With most lawsuits, you're dealing with money, but in family law, you're dealing with people's lives, their children, their futures, their well-being, just stuff that's so extraordinarily personal that it's very difficult when you're going through it.
Let me ask you the most important part. This will be the last question. I'll let you go. I know you have a firm to run, of course. For all the boyfriends and girlfriends out there who have had a long-term boyfriend and girlfriend in the state of Florida, does Florida recognize common law marriage?
They absolutely do not.
Hey,
no such thing as common law marriage.
Made a lot of people out there happy.
There you go.
What a pleasure, my brother. Great to see you. Please send my regards to the family and the firm. You're doing a great job. Again, I'm very proud of you more than anything.
Thank you.
Here's what we'll do. Quick break. When we return, IRS. You've heard, where's my return? You've heard, I didn't get my child tax credit. The IRS says you owe them a lot of money. You're scared. I want to let you know that you have option. Brian Fay, a tax accountant, will join us. Quick break. Behind the Law continues.
No attorney can ethically guarantee the outcome of your case, and neither can I. However, I believe that you deserve to be treated with dignity, respect, and expect prompt attention from your attorney. I believe in this so much that if you're not 100% completely satisfied with the way we handle your injury case within the first 30 days, we will return your file to you and you owe us nothing. No fees, no costs, and no questions asked. That is my 100% satisfaction guarantee to you. Injured on the go? Just call Mo.
IRS, the big bad IRS, or are they really that bad? Are they willing to work with you? Now look, I know many of you might have unfiled tax returns. You might owe money to the IRS. Maybe you're wondering where your tax refund may be. We're getting those questions all the time. Who better to ask than our good friend Brian Fay, tax accountant. Brian, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good.
Let's get an update, first of all, on the IRS in general. Are they open? Are they closed? Are they working? Are they answering their phones? Like, what's going on over there?
I mean, most people would think they're closed if they ever tried to call them.
Is that right? What are the wait times?
Well, usually you get a call, you get a automated message saying they're too busy and to try another time, another day. And as a licensed practitioner with the Treasury Department, even I have a different pool of people that I speak to when I contact them, and it's even harder for me to get in contact with them. You hear on the news about the shutdowns and the slowdowns and all of the delays because of COVID and everything, but it's much worse. On the inside, knowing what's going on, it's much worse than even here.
Now, I know we're going to have a lot of questions out there in our audience, and I want to be clear with you. If you have any questions at all, we have people right now that will answer them. All you have to do is call the phone number on the screen, 321-282-1055. Child tax credits. What is that, and what if I didn't get mine?
Well, child tax credit is a big sticking point for this year for taxes. A lot of people aren't getting their refunds, aren't getting taxes processed because of it. Sometimes it's because they're an advanced child tax credit for people if they elect to. A problem that they're running into is if you're separated or married, filing separate, or going through a divorce. A lot of times, who was dependent on the last tax return for the prior year? The IRS automatically gives it to one person. Sometimes you're not even sure exactly how much was paid to you, and if you don't find out exactly the right amount, then there's a major issue with your tax preparation.
Got it. Now, let's say I do owe money to the IRS, and a lot of people do, and I think people are very private about that. No one wants to admit they owe money to the IRS. So I think more people than you think actually do owe money to the IRS. Does this mean my life is over? And if not, what options do I have?
Well, by the letters that you might receive from the IRS, certainly they would think you're coming for your car and your house
right.
That day.
That's right.
But no, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Those letters are usually meant to threaten, to scare taxpayers into action. Unfortunately, with the way everything is going right now, even if you try to act, you really can't do it.
Yeah.
Try to make an appointment at a local office or call a local IRS branch. Good luck. Without getting professional representation, it's hard to do.
So what is the difference? I mean, what is the difference in hiring someone like you versus just calling them up myself and trying to figure this thing out?
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and I've never seen it like this at all.
Yeah.
You contact someone, if you call the generic number to find someone, the person is just reading off a screen what they have in front of them. One department that you're talking to knows nothing about what's going on in another department, what's going on in another department, and you need someone to bring that all together to come up with a cohesive plan for a resolution.
The Federal Trade Commission came out earlier this week that they were suing one of these big tax prep organizations for false advertising, saying that file your tax returns for free. How often do you see people who actually do this online by themselves, and do you recommend doing so?
Oh, you see signs all the time. Not just that advertising. You'll drive by those signs, at the corner light or wherever you're at. This is happening more and more, and a lot of fraud happens because of it, and a lot of repercussions in the future happen.
I especially like the signs that go on the side of the road where you kind of just hammer them down. That you'll always see the "We Buy Ugly Houses." We see. Tax prep down the street or whatever, and they all kind of go together.
$10,000.
Yeah, unbelievable. And some people do see these advertisements that say instant tax refund. Does that mean I actually get my refund in full, or is that more of a loan that I end up having to pay back?
It's a loan. It's a high interest loan.
Right.
It's not a loan that most people want to do usually.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of repercussions because of that, because there's some unknowns as far as uncertainties as far as what the refund is actually going to be, because the IRS changes it and recalculates them all the time.
Let's say I'm watching this show on television at home right now, and I have not filed returns in 5 or 6 years. And I'm like, well, I haven't really heard much from them yet, but I get nervous because I'm afraid I'm going to go to jail. I drive by an accountant's office and I get nervous and I can't really sleep at night. this is not that abnormal, is it, to have some unfiled returns? And what do I do about it?
No, absolutely not. It's a common story I hear all the time. You know, a common reason why you might not file. All of a sudden, you prepare a return, and then you're not expecting to owe a lot of money. You don't know what to do, so you don't file, and then you don't do anything.
Right.
But the best thing to do is be proactive about it, and to find a professional that can handle the situation and walk you through it.
I always hear people say to you that, oh, the IRS must hate you. You must get audited every year. It's actually different than that. Wouldn't you say that what you do is you help people get back in the system, get back on track? Yes, you're going to try to settle their debt for less than they owe often, but the IRS kind of likes you for getting people back in good standing and back in the system.
Absolutely. You know, they're the biggest collection agency in the world. There's a lot of bureaucracy there, and you know, they're just trying to collect money. That's their job.
Right.
So if we can work out a resolution that's in the best interest of both the IRS and both the taxpayer, that's the way to do it.
So I have a fear of being audited just because like my dad has always been like, Michaela, like do your QuickBooks, blah, blah, blah. So what's the likelihood of just like the average person getting audited if they didn't save like one receipt?
And let me even follow up on that question, because I saw you eyeballing my orange socks earlier. And you were like, what is he doing wearing orange socks? And she bought them for me for this TV show. Is that tax deductible?
No,
it's for the TV show. No?
No, unfortunately it's not. No.
Sorry, not that.
I mean, that was a helpful question too.
And that's part of the gray area of the law. Like maybe you can construe that as a uniform expense, possibly.
Yeah. What if I don't wear them anywhere else? Just the TV show?
Possibly.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of gray area of the law like that. You know, I've been through a lot of audits and examinations where examiners probe exactly those type of expenses and deductions, and you need somebody walking you through it as to decide whether, you know, maybe we can let that pair of socks go through because no one's going to believe you're going to wear them outside of here. But yeah, you need a professional to help you with that.
To be clear, I am not recommending that you try to write off your expenses for the sock purchases, okay? I want to get that out in the open. So we do, let's say we owe money. We owe money to the IRS. Yeah. I've heard there's a way to settle that at times, but there's a fancy term for it. What is that?
Well, you probably have heard Fresh Start Initiative, Offer and Compromise. It's advertised a lot. A lot of people, you know, do take advantage of it. It's the best program the IRS has had to settle a debt for someone. Basically, they look at their financials, and no matter how much they owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million, however much they can pay over a certain period of time, they're willing to work that out because it's in the best interest of both parties.
Now, I do know that, you know, let's say someone owes American Express $20,000. American Express has to then sue them before they could garnish their paycheck or their wages. Does the IRS actually have to sue me, or do they have more power when it comes to garnishment?
They can send you an obligatory letter that you'll see that they'll randomly send you every couple months. You'll think it's the same as everything else. And then just because they send that letter, now they have the right to all of a sudden go into your bank account, levy your bank account, garnish your wages, send information, requests out to anyone, you know, banks, you know, family members. Yeah, business owners.
Look, when it comes to the IRS, they do have more power than your Amex or the mortgage that you have. They don't have to sue you. They just have to send you a letter. They can take your paycheck. They can take your bank account. They can take money out of your account. But I don't want to say that to scare you. They're going to send letters first, but what I want to tell you is if you do owe money to the IRS, you need to get out ahead of it. It's not the kind of thing that you want to work from behind, I assure you. Call Brian Fay now with any questions you have, 321-282-1055. All right, so they don't accept the offer and compromise. They don't want to settle with me. Are there any other options to resolve it without stroking this big fat check?
Absolutely. There's definitely other options. And again, that's why you need to speak to a professional. If you try to do this, first of all, this Offer and Compromise Fresh Start Initiative program, I don't see how anyone not having professional advice can go through this process. It's nearly a 2-year process going through it with a professional. So if that doesn't work out in the end, there are multiple other avenues based on your current situation. And we usually walk you through that, but there's always different options as opposed to just stroking a check.
Yeah, and lastly, and I've seen this a lot where I've seen a husband going through a divorce or a wife going through a divorce, or they're mad at each other about something, and they're like, that wasn't my tax debt at all. I don't owe that money. What are the options for one spouse or the other when they claim they don't owe the money? My husband did, or my wife did.
Yeah, so basically what it comes down to is if you file a joint return, you both sign the tax return, you're both liable. And, so you have to work it out. If you're not working out jointly, both individuals have to work it out separately. And that also comes into play when you're going through family law issues where, it's in the divorce decree, one person's supposed to claim this, one person's supposed to claim that. But according to the IRS, that doesn't work. So you need a professional to work you through that.
Brian Fay, excellent job. Keep up the good work. I hope the IRS doesn't make you crazy here. Do you see them getting back to normal anytime soon?
I don't know.
We sure hope so. Excellent job. Tax accountant Brian Fay. Get out ahead of your IRS problems. Mortgage you can deal with, Amex you can deal with. The IRS you need to deal with today. Quick break. When we return, Michaela and I will wrap it up, and then we'll see you next week. I'm here with Stephen Bader, the COO of IQ Power Solar. Steve, as you know, I went solar at my house with IQ Power Solar. Thank goodness that I did. There are a lot of door-knocking companies out there. There are a lot of these sales organizations that pretend to do solar. They are not IQ Power Solar. What separates you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an exciting industry and a lot of people are getting into it, and that's a good thing, right? For the most part. No one says, oh, I want to just put as many panels on the roof. That's not a good investment. We understand home energy, we understand how to get the best return on your investment, and we understand that at the end of the day, you're not buying a solar system. No one says, I can't wait to get up and look at my system. You're buying an outcome, so that's what we focus on. We focus on an outcome, a promise, someone hold accountable for that promise, and a 40-year commitment to it. So that's what we do.
Really what made us switch to solar was our electric bill was insane. It was $600-700 a month. What made me choose IQ Power was I had a bunch of people obviously come knock on my door, and I just went through and did some research on it. I liked that they were all under one contract. It wasn't multiple contractors. Everything was handled through the same individual, and they knocked everything out in a timely manner and really worked it out for us. They had the best warranties and guarantees in the business, and my wife really liked that. And they were fantastic to work with.
Thank you for what you did for me and my family, Steve. IQ Power Solar. Do yourself a favor. Give IQ Power Solar a call today. You will not regret that decision.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Do threats from the IRS have you spinning out of control? Call me today or visit youhavepower.com. 10 years now we've been doing Behind the Law, but it's my first time here on this station with you, and it's my first time with you, Michaela. What did you think?
It was fun. I learned a lot.
I think you should ask a few more questions next week, maybe. Did you at least learn something?
I did. I mean, it's a little intimidating to ask questions with like brilliant minds, so I'll speak for the people at home.
Did you just call me brilliant?
Did I? I don't know.
No, I'm sure you just said brilliant.
I was complimenting you.
Hit rewind right now, and I'm sure
Please
that you
don't.
just called me brilliant, a brilliant mind. You never said that before.
Well, you're welcome.
Pretty amazing. And thank you for the socks, by the way. I'm sorry you can't write them off.
It happens, I guess, right?
Behind the Law every single week right here at the same time. I'm so looking forward to joining you. If you have any questions whatsoever, whether it's during the week or right now, we have people standing by to answer them. 321-282-1055. Again, no charge whatsoever. Pretty amazing stuff, huh?
It is pretty amazing.
And special thanks to our crew here. Without further ado, I guess we'll say goodbye, huh? Excellent job, Michaela. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week, same day, same time, for more Behind the Law.